over here. And then you can go full screen.
I need to get you a mint.
I brushed my teeth.
Okay. But then you've had coffee.
No, I just brushed them.
Okay.
Does my breath smell like coffee?
A little bit.
It tastes like mint.
Okay. Minty coffee.
I'll go gargle.
No, it's good. It's
with
okay.
Listerine before I go to the gym.
It's okay. It's okay.
Hello, Poppet.
There she is. She's back.
I looked up this past week what Poppet meant, and I already forgot. It means something.
Are we supposed to have music and an intro and an outro and stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Was that on your phone or my phone?
It was on your phone. I texted you that last week.
But we have to change it this time, don't we?
I'm going to Google what Poppet means again. No, let's just use the same one.
Okay.
You thought it was good. You were laughing at yourself later on.
Go.
Welcome to the Unedit, the show where we keep it real, raw, and unfiltered.
That's right. We're not here to sugarcoat anything. We're going to give it to you straight. No chaser.
I'm Whitney.
And this is my co-host, David.
Okay.
She didn't finish her line. Oh, were you changing something? I thought we weren't changing
anything.
anything.
And this is my co-host,
David. Each week we're gonna take you on a journey through the ups and downs of life with a little bit of humor and a whole lot of heart.
I actually like that one.
That's good.
So today we're going to be talking about how to overcome procrastination with heart.
And then we're going to jump right back into that topic everybody loves about pop culture and what's going on with Tiger Woods and everything.
There's going to be some riffing.
Riffing, yes, we're going to riff and we are going to banter.
Riff.
It's the riff and banter, the R&B section. I like
segment.
R&B segment.
Okay, so here's the definition of Poppet.
Okay, hello, Poppet.
Hello, Poppet. It's an endearingly sweet or pretty child or young girl, often used as an affectionate form of address. Or a small figure of a human being used in sorcery and witchcraft.
So how are you using that word? As a sorceress or as...
I'm not into sorcery and witchcraft, seeing as I believe in Jesus. But I do believe there are spiritual things in... Oh, look, there's pictures of it. It's kind of creepy.
A sweet or pretty child. I guess, depending on who's saying it to who, could be a little bit creepy.
I just like the word, and I like saying it with a British accent. And
hello, Poppet.
Hello, Poppet. Okay, so how to overcome procrastination with heart. What is heart? First of all, let's walk through it really quickly. 5 letters. It's an acronym. This is 4. This is 5. 5 letters, acronym. H is help yourself. So start with self-care and make sure your physical well-being is in check. E, empower yourself, your emotional, intellectual, and spiritual well-being, your mental faculties. A, all your people. How are they all doing? Do they all have their needs met? R, your resources and responsibilities. This is the stuff and things, the stewardship category, keeping the wheels on the car, the roof on the house, money in the bank account. And then last but not least, trade and talent, which is where our career, ambitions, and hobbies need to go. Unless you've got a hobby up there in E for ambition.
And that's kind of flipped upside down, right?
It is. Heart is the framework that I use for helping me balance my life. It helps me on a daily basis do a check-in. Like if I need a daily reset, it helps me do a daily reset. It helps me look at my week from a big picture standpoint. I can time block things on my calendar, my Google Calendar, and see if I am. It's not that I need to spend equal amounts of time on everything. That's not what a balanced life is, you know? Like if I spend an hour a day on my physical well-being with 30 minutes with a morning routine and 30 minutes with an evening routine, I can plus a workout, plus a healthy meal. I mean, it's easy to check the boxes on self-care throughout the day if you're intentional about it.
Right.
If you're not intentional about it, you tend to prioritize things in the wrong order, and that's when life gets unbalanced.
Interesting.
Plain and simple.
Plain and simple. But what you learned way back when with the SMART goals was that everybody was taking care of their trade first. That's what I was saying. It's upside down. They were focused on their trade and their work and their goals and and leaving no time for their health and no time for their people and no time for their. Why are you staring at my hair? Does it look good today?
No, your skin looks good from after you did that. You did that cream stuff from the dermatologist.
Yeah, and you're halfway through it.
Looks a lot better. Yeah,
so anyway,
spots.
My point was
I was listening to you. I wasn't staring at you. I was just turning my attention to you while you talked, and then you asked that question, and it got you off the subject.
So reiterating what I said is, people have learned for years that it was the other way around. That you focused on your work, and that you set your goals, and you did all the things that you were supposed to do, and then you took care of yourself, and then you took care of your kids, which are your people, and whoever else is in your life. So it was kind of this idea that Whitney came up with was kind of brilliant. And
I think one of the things I've always struggled with is that I grew up being taught that joy, the acronym for joy is Jesus, others, and you. And so put Jesus first, and then others first, and then yourself last. But what I've realized is that putting yourself last doesn't mean ignoring your needs. We all have basic fundamental human needs. And if we don't meet those needs first, and if we're not intentional about meeting those needs with, I need another word besides intention. If we're just not intentional about meeting those needs, that we're not going to be able to do the first two things in that joy acronym well. We're not going to be able to serve Jesus well, and we're not going to be able to serve others well.
Nice.
So I'm not saying be selfish, but I am saying brush your teeth, put it on your face cream.
Drink your water.
Right. Sleep, water, nutrition, movement. There you go.
Eat good food.
Okay. So the topic of conversation today is how to use that acronym, how to use the HEART acronym to overcome procrastination. How does HEART help us overcome procrastination? I can tell my story.
Go ahead.
On that. I don't know. Okay. So last summer we did a hard pivot in the business. We pulled the car off the highway. I always say you can't repair a car, can't fix the car while it's barreling down the highway at 90 miles an hour. We pulled the car off the highway in July. Literally just stopped
it down
for a month. And I feel like we needed that break to kind of refocus. And it wasn't necessarily a break. I mean, we did get out of town, but.
And the kids were at camp for 2 weeks.
Yeah, but we just gave ourselves some room to breathe on this subject. So, and when we got back, I started with 8. And I said, okay, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that all of my self-care needs are met. And I really started prioritizing really nothing but that. I mean, yes, there was work happening and I touched those things, but the primary focus of my life was, what do I need? Am I getting enough sleep? So just silly little things like practicing going to bed earlier and I do drink my water, so that's never really been a problem, but focusing on healthy eating, that's been a journey for us in this past year with us and the kids. And I was already working out regularly. So I will also typically, like, I need to go get my nails done right now. I need to go get my eyelashes done.
Right now?
Not right now. But that's a silly, it's silly, but it's not silly. It's a self-care thing that a lot of people would say is an indulgence, but it's something that makes me feel my best. It makes me feel presentable, and it makes me feel confident. And
when you feel your best, you give your best.
This is good.
Thanks.
When you feel your best, you give your best. It's really good. Thanks. Did you just come up with that?
I did.
It's really good.
Thank you.
Solid.
Somebody write that down.
It's recorded for posterity on this live. Oh, I got a thing in my back.
Right here?
Right there. No, down. All right. Over
this way?
Yeah. There you go. Okay. So I would just say for myself that it's not when we did that reset, it wasn't like just focusing on H helps me. It wasn't like I instantly stopped procrastinating about things. I really feel like this past week, I finally hit a stride in conquering procrastination. But I feel like the work to actually fight the battle with procrastination was done in advance over time as I worked through that acronym last year. Because after I did H, I went to after I myself, then I went to empowering myself. Started really looking at what kind of content am I consuming, what kind of books am I reading, what kind of podcasts am I listening to. I still love true crime. And for some reason, that helps me relax. It's terrible. No.
That's what it is.
Oh.
That's what I mean. It's exactly what they have a formula.
He's reading a psychology book right now. I'm just going to mention that.
I'm not going to say anything. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I feel like in this past week, the procrastination thing, I just, and we have a kid that's procrastinating. And so now how can we use heart to help him overcome his procrastination?
That's a good question.
And I think that we have to start with the same thing. I think we have to ask him on a regular basis, have you helped yourself? Maybe we need to make him a little list on the wall. Sleep, water, nutrition, movement, allergy medication, ADHD medication,
brush your teeth, put on
hair, deodorant.
The list is, I don't know if we have a big enough wall.
We will find one.
But
let's start there. It's an idea that just came to me.
Yeah, it's a really good idea.
And I think another thing that's important is this phrase. I've talked about this lately in a couple of things, but it doesn't matter how slow you go, as long as you do not stop. It does not matter how slow you go, so long as you do not stop. I didn't say that. Somebody else said that. But I think it applies here.
Yeah, there were some things that happened this week with you that were kind of light bulb moments that you said, oh my goodness. You know, my life has just gotten easier. Holy cow. The time that I had to dedicate some of these things has just been way shrunk. And I think it was it was a good week.
It's a matter of not stopping. It's like you just have to keep going to find the breakthroughs. And I think if we know the breakthroughs are coming, it makes it easier. It makes killing procrastination easier. It makes overcoming procrastination easier. When you, and so sometimes I think it's just believing in that breakthrough,
right?
Believing that there's a breakthrough coming.
Yeah. I guess on my end, I need to start, maybe I need to have a conversation with you and we just kind of line this thing out. But what typically happens to me is I'll start out with my self-care. I'll get my booty out of bed early and go and go take care of my business, and I'll come back, and from then on, it's basically, kids to school, and then, whatever we have. And what it turns into a lot of days is what Whitney calls the whirlwind. Is it just spins around in my head. And when that happens, I just stop.
You get cranky.
I get cranky, and nobody likes me. And I'm no fun to be around. But I think there's some opportunity there for me to
Practice heart.
Practice heart. Yes,
Mhm.
indeed. To prevent the whirlwind, which is
Yeah.
my big roadblock to procrastination.
Well, so what you're saying is, let me clarify, active listening.
Mhm.
So are you saying that the whirlwind causes you to procrastinate? Because you could also say that you don't procrastinate. You get up in the morning and start getting stuff done. You roll out of bed and start checking stuff off of a list.
But is it, well, that's true. I mean, thank you for that. That, I think that's very insightful. But at the same time, I think there's other, maybe I'm not procrastinating, but I think there's a priority. I'm not prioritizing things that are more important than others because I'm just running from one to the next one. You follow what I'm saying? Which in turn gets her mad at me because, or upset with me because there were some things that I was supposed to do either around here or, help out around Mockingbird or whatever it is. And I don't slow down enough to figure out what is the priority of the day. And maybe, the Google Calendar thing, like what you do with heart in there, if I will actually sit down and block the time for the day of when I'm focusing on what and stop when, when that activity time's over. This is good stuff.
So practicing heart could help you prioritize the whirlwind so that when you find yourself in it, you could stop and say, okay, wait, I'm feeling the whirlwind. And the whirlwind is just the daily, anytime you have a to-do list that's longer than 10 things, you've got a whirlwind in your brain, right? That you've got to get done for that day. But if you just stopped on one of those days and said, okay, how am I doing? Like just physically, what does my body need? Sometimes I just need to get up and go to the restroom because I'm sitting there working so hard. I'm like, I haven't stopped to pee, What? I don't know. Yeah, I just said pee.
I don't pause for that. I will always pause for.
Sometimes it's just it's just becoming conscious. It's just stopping and saying, okay, what do I need in this moment? Do I need a brain break? Do I need a bathroom break? Do I need a walk around? Do I need some lateral movement to get both sides of the brain going, with a little walk around the block?
And sometimes I feel like I have a pretty good handle on my day, but then the unexpected thing shows up of, somebody needing something, like you're ready to go climb on a roof and help your dad do a shingle, or a kid gets sick and you're just like, oh my goodness. I mean, there it goes. It's just been shot in the foot.
Yeah. But if you, I think, I don't know, just practice it and let us know how it goes, practice the daily reset. And I think it's probably easier, even though it still may feel like a whirlwind if you jump back into it. At least you've stopped and said, okay, what do I need? What does my body need to keep going? And then after you do that, then you can move to E and say, what do I need emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually to keep going? And so on and so forth. I talk about the subject of heart in my book, A More Beautiful Life, which you can purchase on Amazon. We'll link it in the show notes. That's what I'm supposed to do.
I think we've said a few things that we're supposed to link in the show notes that we haven't done yet. We might have to go back and rewatch these things too.
I feel like this is good though. This is kind of the format. This is where we're headed.
I need to write this down so I know I can just go straight from here and link the stuff. Follow? Grab the pen out of there. Out of that drawer right there.
Oh. That doesn't have a handle on it?
And your birthday card from our insurance agent. Hand me that.
Oh my gosh. My birthday's tomorrow.
Yep.
Tomorrow I turn 44.
She does not want to do anything for her birthday.
Erin Conrad. I would like to go to dinner, I think. But
family or just us?
I don't know. It would be nice for us to go to dinner.
Okay. What did I say? Link to book in notes. Okay.
Good deal. Okay, so shall we move to segment 2?
It's time for R&B, riffing and banter.
or riff and banter?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I need to look up some pop culture stuff before we start this thing.
You can look at your phone.
No, it's okay. You get mad at me when I do that.
But we have to have something pop culture to talk about. How many people did Elon Musk fire at Twitter this week?
I don't know, but I just heard something about that on the radio about how upset the Chinese government is with him over this mess.
Really?
Because they buy, I don't remember what the number was, 60% of the Teslas that are manufactured.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so these comments that he's made, or the things that he's done, I don't know what's going on. I have to dive into this, but he's made his largest customer base mad. So I'm sure they'll get over it because
they're pretty irritated with us right now anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just,
let's just add some fuel to the fire, Elon. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Okay. Let's see. Yep. He's
what
Googling.
About today in T Swift?
What do we have today in T Swift world? Top stories. Here we go. I don't know what that top one is. Top 30 pop culture trends in March.
No, don't look at it because it's anime stuff. It's weird.
It's what is that called?
Anime? Is that what it's called?
I thought it was anime.
Anime. Okay. See, I had the right letters in there. I was just pronouncing it wrong. Click on that one.
I did. Oh, this is all about TV stuff. Oh.
Amy Grant opens up about recovering from horrific bike accident. When did that happen?
I don't know. I didn't know that. Bless her heart.
You should call her.
She's a sweetheart. I don't know her well enough to call her.
So we're bogging down. Oh, look.
Taylor Swift. This is from the New York Times. I prefer to read my news instead of watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, oh, here's something else. Did you see that there is a case coming up against I'm not going to get political here because we don't do politics. We don't talk about politics on this. But the people that own the Dominion voting systems thing that were being accused of like fraud pretty much during the last election have taken a case to the Supreme Court. And it's going to be really interesting to see what happens because
against Donald?
No, against Fox News. Great question. Because I forgot to mention that because apparently there is evidence that that ratings were falling when Fox News was the first network to call Trump's loss in the last election. Rupert Murdoch heard about the ratings and falling because they lost some viewers, not advertisers. They lost eyes on the screen. And he said, do what you need to do to pull the numbers back up. And so
they started making up stuff, allegedly.
Allegedly, I guess.
That's not.
Yeah.
That's not good.
So it's an interesting case because from the point of freedom. So I like reading my news because when I click on the New York Times or I'm sitting here reading the Wall Street Journal or something, which we get at the house, they're not trying to keep my eyes glued to that paper. They know that there's a finite supply of paper and I'm going to get to the end of it. And they hope that they have maximized the ads that I'm going to see in the course of my reading. And they do that by making sure there's quality content. And I listen to I listen to the Wall Street Journal and New York Times podcast, and I'm really impressed with the quality of reporting that a podcast produces. Just it's not this thing that's trying to get me glued to a podcast.
Right.
It's bite-sized news. It's what I need to know today. And I just think there's something about, and I'm reading The Chaos Machine by Max Fisher right now. We were talking about that this morning, which is about what happens when a company prioritizes maximizing eyes on a screen for like they just know the longer they can keep us glued to a screen, the more advertising dollars they can get from it.
Yeah.
And when that's a business strategy, at some point in time, it's going to be way too tempting for an organization, whatever it is, to start misleading, create misinformation, which is, I mean,
it's a problem.
It's a problem.
Big problem.
So I think it's interesting that you in Max Fisher's book, who's also written for the New York Times, has written, not sure. I just think it's interesting. And so I like podcasts because I get bite-sized,
agenda-driven.
Thanks. I mean, maybe it is agenda-driven, but
sure there is. Everybody has an agenda.
But it just, and then I also, the writers that writers are a bit of a snobby crowd, especially journalists. They take a lot of pride in their words and their work. And they know, I really think that a good journalist is going to know that if they lead somebody down the wrong path, they're going to break trust with that person. And then I think it's our job as viewers to make sure that we are not looking for things to confirm a bias. We're not looking for information that confirms what we already believe. I think it's very important for us to say, it amazes me the number of people I've seen in the course of my life who just believe something because
they saw it on Fox News or heard it on the radio.
No.
Oh.
Because that's what they want to believe.
Oh.
Like you can tell them, like, no, the sky is blue. And then we'll go, it's white. There's clouds in it. But you're like, but whatever. I mean, that's a silly example.
Oh.
But
Yep. Well, I was just sitting here thinking, if that is true, if these allegations are true, how much time and money and effort and at what cost, what relationships were lost over things like this, because
I don't want there to be relationships lost over it, but I kind of hope there are. I mean, I hope that it helps people realize that we can't just listen to news in order to confirm a bias,
right? And
then get all riled up about it. And I think reading news instead of watching it is one way to prevent that from happening in our brains, because there's subconscious stuff happening in our brains that we don't know about. Bottom line.
Right.
We think we control our own minds. Not always.
Interesting.
You didn't know that?
I just guess I've never thought about it. Guess I have never thought about it.
Okay.
Where did our script go? Boom. Host one.
And that's a wrap for this week's episode of The Unedit.
Thanks for tuning in and sticking with us through all the laughs and the tears and the unedited moments.
I don't think there are going to be a lot of tears.
No, not hardly ever.
We're going to have to find another word. Laughs, rabbit chasing. We'll be back next week with more heart, more banter, and more unedited moments.
That's my line. She skipped over hers.
And
I'll say, remember, life is messy, but it's also beautiful. Don't be afraid to embrace the chaos and go after your dreams.
Until then, stay true to yourself, stay authentic, and stay unedited.
See you next week.
See you next week.